Today, for your advisory activity, we are going to put you in a situation where you're pretending that you're in the air test. We really need to practice this idea of writing on demand. So you are going to be using this entire time, and I expect to see that when you submit your response in Google Classroom, that this is a well-developed, edited, revised, good transitions, all of these writing strategies that we've talked about all year. Anytime they ask you to write a multi-paragraph, you really should aim for a 5-paragraph essay because that's really what their expectation is, that by 7th grade you can write more than 1 paragraph, you can develop an introduction, you can support it with strong evidence, and then explain that evidence back to your thesis, and then wrap up with a conclusion paragraph. So today, if you don't have a piece of notebook paper, I want you to pause this and go get one. And you're going to create your own. So I have a template here that you could follow. You could do this just in a web. You could do this in an outline. We're going to be doing a little more practice of this as the weeks lead up to the AIR assessment. But it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You don't even need to write these words out here. It's just more jotting some ideas down so you know what to include in your essay. So your question is, which antagonist in your Middle Ages, and if you're not reading Middle Ages right now, your current novel, has had the biggest impact on your protagonist? Remembering that your antagonist is the idea, the person, the force that creates problems for your protagonist. So you're going to try to come up with a hook, but I don't want you to spend 10 minutes thinking of a hook. If you can't come up with a hook in a second or two, skip it, move on, come back. Maybe when you start writing, as you get to your 3rd body paragraph, you'll come up with an idea. So don't spend too much time planning all this out. I would say this should be about 5 minutes max. Now, my book talks about the Holy Grail, so I thought that might be an interesting fact that leads into my essay. For background, you're going to give a quick summary of your book, remembering to include the title of your book. When you type it, it needs to be italicized. And when I go to write this, I'm going to add some more detail to this, but as part of my pre-write, I just want a quick one, who's my character, what's the problem? For my thesis, again, it doesn't need to be written in a complete sentence. I'm just going to answer this. Who is the antagonist of my novel? And it's Sir Hugh. I think there were several antagonists throughout the story, but Sir Hugh has the biggest impact on Tristan. Now I'm going to start thinking about some events to support that. What did Sir Hugh do in the story that shows his impact, his problems that he created? So one event is when he hunts Tristan down after the shipwreck. Now, here in my pre-write, I'm just going to jot the idea down. When I go to write, I have to develop this into a paragraph, making sure I don't summarize the story, but that I explain how this event creates problems for Tristan. The second event I chose is how he attacks the palace with 1,000 Templar knights. And then the third event was how he threatens to hang Miriam if Tristan doesn't give him the Holy Grail. Now, these are 3 events throughout very different parts of the story. One's at the beginning, one's at the middle, one's at the end. And it might be a good idea for you to do that so you make sure that you don't summarize the story, because it's not asking you to summarize the story. Okay? As I explain this, and when I explain how Sir Hugh gathers thousands of Templar knights, and when Tristan looks out of the castle walls, he sees all of these knights there, he doesn't quite understand why they are following him, and it really puts him at a disadvantage. He knows he's endangered the lives of thousands of the people that are inside the keep, and it creates a new conflict for him that puts him on the run again. So these are things I'll explain. Again, not a summary, but how does this tie in with my thesis? When it gets to the conclusion, you need some kind of a wrap-up thought. Think about why this antagonist is so important to the story. So for me, I said Sir Hugh's actions changed Tristan from a timid and naive boy to a brave knight willing to defend the innocent and weak. I don't believe if Sir Hugh hadn't come into this story, Tristan wouldn't have been challenged the way that he was and would not have been forced to change. So 5 minutes on a pre-write, and then I want you to get out your Chromebook. You're going to go into Google Classroom. Make sure you're in your advisory slide or in your advisory classroom. And there's a document there that says template for you to write your 5-paragraph essay. Really look at the time as you're writing this, budget a little bit. When you do your air assessment, you'll probably have 45 minutes to an hour to work on your paper. You're going to want to get through the drafting of it and then making sure that you have some time to go back and proofread, edit, add some details to clarify. Okay? All right. Good luck.